For all those who didn't say Tachnun today, besides Rosh Chodesh, it's a Yom Tov. That's why we're not saying Tachnun till Beis Iyar, including Beis Iyar, not including. Why? Because every day that a Nasi brought a korban, Klal Yisrael doesn't say Tachnun. So when you don't say Tachnun, remember that it's a big Yom Tov. You have to be very happy, and you have to remember the koyach that every day of the days in Nissan, of the Nesiim, that they brought the korban. So that's why I say Ged Yom Tov. Besides Ged Yom Tov, because it's Rosh Chodesh, and it's because of the Nachshon HaMenadav brought his korban. There's also another reason why it's a Yom Tov. Because in Tov Shimon Ches, we got a very powerful tool that the Rebbe gave us, and it had a delayed release. But that's the day that the Rebbe said, we just saw the video, the Inyan of Yechi HaMelech, and it was used when the Chassidim, somehow they were prompted to use it, and until this very day we use it, and the Rebbe came out for a year and a half encouraging it. So that's a huge Yom Tov in its own right. So, first of all, we want to start with Pesachim B'bracha. Yechi Adeineinu Mereinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Le'Olam V'Oed. Yechi Adeineinu Mereinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Le'Olam V'Oed. Yechi Adeineinu Mereinu V'Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach Le'Olam V'Oed. We have a nice first Pirsum Rishon, that there's somebody who came that's on the list to speak, and he's here. And I want everyone to know that whenever you're on the list to speak and you come early, you won't have to sit and wait for the other speakers. Harav Michal Zelikson, please, we're so happy to have you to come up now. And remember, this is a secret. Don't tell the other speakers. I will tell them that you want to not sit here the whole night and wait for your chance to talk. I'm sure you have other engagements. It's Beis Iyar. So now it's Kiyad Hashem Hateva Alecha, that you can talk as much as you want. Open road. Well, thank you.
Speaking in English, right?
Huh?
You speak in English.
Well, because Monday don't very well.
No, I have
Okay. You have Bell's palsy or something?
Huh?
Yes, Bell's palsy?
No.
No, it looks like one side is
Ah.
whatever it is.
No, sometimes when I whisper to
Whatever it is, and you should be staying straight and healthy if you are healthy. Whatever that looks like Chaim, man. Whatever that same Chaim. Stammen da.
Chaim. It's Beis Nissan, the Yom Lula of the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe brings in the Yom that Beis Nissan, the Lashon is Hilula of the Rebbe Rashab, and he writes the date. It's interesting to note because there are some of the Hilulas of the Rabbeim that the Rebbe does not write Hilula. The Rebbe writes Yema Istalkus or Istalkus. The two Rabbeim that we find that the Rebbe mentions Hilula is Benegir to the Rebbe Rashab and Benegir to the Tzemach Tzedek. Whatever the reason is, but we can also explain it that it's connected with Chodesh Nissan. Chodesh Nissan is connected with the Inyan of Chasana. Hilula is the Inyan of Chasana. It's the Inyan of Hakomas HaMishkan, and the Chazal connected with the Inyan of Simchosei of the Eibishter. Memela the Rebbe in the Yardzeiten that are in Chodesh Nissan, the Rebbe writes Hilula. It was Mitzvah Shabbos Kodesh. Vayikra Leyem Aleph Beis Nissan Sheni Ben Nissan. It was Tafresh Pei B'Shah Chetzi or Revius, which is basically 3:30 a.m. And it says Nestalik U'Menachasei Kovet is Beiros Tov Al Nahar Don. So the Frierdiker Rebbe writes in the Rishima, in a letter, a very interesting expression benegea to the Istalkus. He writes that Berishen Leseder Zeis Teras Ha'ela, which is going into Sunday, Parshat Tzav, is the aliyas of Nishmas of the Rebbe Rashab. He writes Kvei Kedushas Amur HaRabba Kodesh before daylight. Bisheni L'Chedesh Nisan Hashemesh Hugdar says that the sun darkened and the Rebbe Rashab was brought L'Kivrei, which is Be'erez Zor V'Nachriya. It wasn't in Lubavitch. So in other words, that he was Nitman in a different place altogether, where he ended up in Rostov 4 years earlier. And then the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, says an expression, Oy Rebbeinu Shalom Nirdafnu Adon. The place is called Nahar Don. So the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe says the expression Nirdafnu, we were chased till dawn. In other words, we ended up in Golus. And the Frierdiker Rebbe continues, Yislach Hashem, the Eibishter should forgive me on the expression of my lips, very interesting expression, V'lei echta b'lsheni, and I will not sin in my language saying, Kishom donanu elikim, that this is where the Eibishter judged us. This is the union of Nirdafnu Adon, so the Frierdiker Rebbe connects it with donanu elikim. Vayikach meitanu, he took away from us Ponim HaMe'iris, the illuminated face. Which this is a letter that the Frierdiker Rebbe writes. I think he writes it to his uncle Rab Mendel, Benegir the Istalkus of the Rebbe Rashab. Benegir to Beis Nisan, we find that the Rebbe in different sichas speaks about Beis Nisan and also in different letters. In a letter Tafshin Yud, the Frierdiker Rebbe connects Beis Nisan with the first Shabbos Breishis. Shabbos Breishis, there's 2 days, if B'chafei B'oder Nivra Eilam, or it was B'chafei Elu. So the Rebbe says, Eben soll sagen, es Chafei Oder, kommt to is that Beis Nisan is the first Shabbos Breishis. 7 days after Chafei Oder. And the Rebbe says, and what is different this day than all other days? That it is a day which Shabbos, the first Shabbos, it was the union of Shimsha, Eisei O'er, 36 hours. The first Shabbos Breishis, the light lasted for 36 hours, as the Rebbe mentions in Farbrengen in a later year, brought in Medrashim, that Bishas Adam Barishan saw that it got dark, and he felt lost, so the Eibishter to me gave him a nature that he should rub 2 stones together, and this is the minhag of Beirem Erioish. He was afraid that because he sinned, he brought darkness to the world. So the Eibishter told him, the Eitzah, that as Paschan, Zebazeh, that he took 2 stones rubbed against each other, and it became light. This is the inyan of Mitzvah Shabbos, the inyan of Beirem Erioish. Another inyan Benegeh Beis Nisan, the Rebbe brings, and the Rebbe's father speaks about it, that it's connected with Shevet Yisachar. The Nasi of tomorrow is Shevet Yisachar. And the Rebbe's father explains, when we're speaking about some inyan of Shevet Yisachar, it's connected with Torah. And therefore we see by the Rebbe Rashab that he was Yasa the yeshiva, and the 2 sins of Yisachar, one is for Nigla HaTorah and one is for Pnimius HaTorah. In other words, one, the sin is sounded, the other one is not sounded, which means that one of them is the inyan of Nigla HaTorah and one is Pnimius HaTorah. This is also connected with a Maisa that happened in 770, Tafshin Yud Beis. The Gabbai, or whoever's the Balkeda then, read in Parsha Vayetze Yisachar instead of Yisachar. So the Rebbe said, "What's happens? Why suddenly did the Balkeda read with 2 sins? Because not our minhag. When the Belzer Rebbe was once here for Yechidus, the Rebbe spoke with him about it, because by them there is a minhag. In Dorten Gufa, there's also different minhagim if it's only the first time or every time the name Yisachar is mentioned. But from the Rebbe spoke about it in Yechidus with the Belzer, I think it was in Mem Aleph. The Chol Eifen, The Rebbe's father writes that this is also the connection that the Istalkus of the Rebbe Rashab was Dafke Beis Nissan, because Beis Nissan is connected with the union of Torah. The Yesh Lahoyer, the union which was already once sent into the Rebbe, B'negeya to another union that we find B'negeya Shevet Yisachar. Shevet Yisachar is also connected with the second day Chanukah. The Rebbe Rashab's bris was on the second day Chanukah. And B'meila, this is the connection between Yisachar and the union of Beis Nissan with the Rebbe Rashab. Sai B'negeya to the Stalkos, and Sai B'negeya to the union of the bris, which was on the second day Chanukah. The Rebbe continues in Vayem Yem that the first maimer that the Rebbe Rashab said Barabim was the second day Sukkot, Keser Yitnu Lecha. And the last maimer, and the Rebbe is Madgish, maimer Barabim Ha'acharein, because there were a few maimerim that he said privately because there was a curfew. The Mela, they couldn't come to the Rebbe Rashab, they couldn't walk in the street. So it was basically, the last maimer was Reishis Goyim Amalek by the Farbrengen of Purim. Ha'acharein B'yesei Ba'almadein. When you get the first maimer, there's a whole sikha from the Rebbe, which actually, it's mashma from the Friedrich Rebbe, that the Ascholas Hanesius began to Afreish Nun Dalet, more in a formal way. Mitzad the union of Rosh Hashanah to Afreish Nun Dalet, that's when he took over his father's place by davening, and B'meila, this is what marked it. So the Rebbe in a sikha, which was a very interesting chidush, stressed that Be'etzem is in Tov Reish Mem Gimel, there was already Ascholas Hanesius. The Rebbe says the proof of that is he already said a maimer, and it's Avidosa Mechan Chosan. The Rebbe says B'meila, it's already the Nisius already began then. And the Rebbe says Unveret noch that the maimer is Kesa Yitnu Lecha. So the Rebbe asked the question, if so, why did he not change why did he not take over his father's place till Tafresh Nun Dalet? So the Rebbe says, Ten lechachem v'yech kameid, and the Rebbe Rachmanas got af Nelam. So the Rebbe said, v'yesh leimar, because his older brother was still in Lubavitch. The Razor was still in Lubavitch, and Memela, the Rebbe Rashab did not want to take over his father's place. But by Tafresh Nun Dalet, his brother left Lubavitch, the Razor, just a little before, and Memela, the Rebbe Rashab started Dafke in Rosh Hashanah. Und das sagt man ein interessanter Linie. When we look at the Maimer of Tafresh Nun Dalet, Rosh Hashanah, ich weiß nicht, wie viel Chevron das bemerkt, but it's a pelletike Sache. He speaks, the Maimer begins of Achedesh Hashvi, he speaks about the Inyan Kol Hashvi and Chavivin. First page of the Maimer. Und teitsch to is, Chaviv is Rosham Teves, Chochma, Bino, Yeseid, a ganze Inyan of the Inyan von Shvi, which is basically the Shvi to the Baal Shem Tov. It does that machine and that Maimed, which was the formal, with the taking over already also the place where his father davened. Now the Inyan that the Rebbe says Barabim is because the Rebbe Rashab said a Maimed, Hine Yonechi Keres Bris, Shabbos Kisisa. But there were very few people there. It was the Friedrich Rebbe and another 4 people. It was Weistoish because of the curfew that they didn't allow people to walk on the street. So B'meila Chassidim did not come, so the Rebbe Rashab sent a Maimer for 5 people. When you get to this Maimer, it's told that the Rebbe Rashab wrote it up, but he left in the middle, he got sick, he was not able to continue, and he left the middle of Sif Beis. And the Friedrich Rebbe says that the Rebbe says ons helfen, that we should be able to learn and fulfill and bring about b'maseinu hatev, that he should strengthen his bris, his covenant with us, to be made a lachem imrabim aleinu. We should be connected with bris ovis. How does bris ovis come here? This is the teichen of the Maimer. The Maimer is Hini Onech Keres Bris speaks about the Inyan of Bris Ovis. The Mela, the Friedrich Rebbe connects it with this Inyan. The famous Pisgah that the Rebbe Rashab said before his Istalkus is right mamish laying in the Zal. He asked us to bring in his bed into the Zal, and there was today already. There's a fence around it. They know exactly the place. And the Rebbe Rashab then said, "Ich gehe in Himmel und ich sovim lo zichaych." That says that he's leaving, he's going l'mayla, und ich sovim lo zichaych. The manuscripts I'm leaving for you. It says that Friedrich Rebbe became very hisrakshus, very excited, hearing these words, and the Rebbe Rashab said, "Onis pilus, meichen, onis pilus." The Rebbe explained this Pisgah over the years many times. The Rebbe brought out that these two inyanim are not two separate things, but they're one inyan. There is one thing which is basically the inyan of a Gaten Himmel, and the second inyan is the Ksovim Lo Zechaych. It's not like here is one place and the Ksovim are somewhere else, but through learning his Ksovim we connect with him. And this is the stress that Rebbe mentioned it many times, tens of times at least, over the years, that they're connecting with him as there is in Himmel is through Limud Teirasi. It's interesting to know that the Rebbe says this is the reason why he is referred to as the Rebbe Nishmas Eden. He's referred to as the Rebbe Nishmas Eden because of this inyan that he said Agate in Himmel. Bechlal, the beginning of the Rebbe's Nesios, the Rebbe began to publish many Maimorim, slowly but surely. And some of these Maimorim were the Rebbe Rashab's Maimorim. There was a Maimer that the Rebbe Rashab said, Smuchim La'ad. This was the last Maimer in Anyemeledes Tafrish Pei. And the Rebbe wanted to publish it, Tafshin Yud Aleph, as he writes it clearly. But it didn't work out. So he published it, Tafshin Yud Beis. It has a very strong connection with my father because it was right before the Tnoim of my father. My father's Tnoim was Chav Cheshvan, Tavshin Yud Beis, and Memela the Rebbe offered that since there is a Maimed that's coming out, so the Rebbe did fundraising. The Rebbe asked if he's ready to sponsor the Maimed. And the Rebbe told my father, it's going to be in the libraries, it's going to be everywhere. The Rebbe was thinking very wide and broad. My father didn't need too much convincing. He gave whatever the Rebbe needed, and he published the Maimer. And in the Pesach Dover, the Rebbe writes that this Maimer was supposed to be published a year earlier. Mitzad HaSibeh, it was pushed off to Yud Beis, which means that the Rebbe was going to publish this Maimer before the formal Kabbalas HaNesios. Chav Cheshvan Tavshin Yud Aleph. Very interesting. This is a Yemeledes of the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe brings many times that the Rebbe Rashab is known as the Rambam of Chassidus. The Rambam of Chassidus means in the same sense that the Rambam wrote his halachas, all the halachas, Pei Yad HaChazaka, Pei Gimel halachas, Klolius. He wrote it in a very clear language, Kakot and Kagodl, that everybody is able to understand it. Likewise, the Rebbe Rashab explains Inyanim of Chassidus in a way that a person should be able to understand it with clarity, with mishalim. And that's why the Ziknei Achsidim, Achsidim Arishenim, there's an expression the Rebbe says that they refer to the Rebbe Rashab as the Rambam of Chassidus. In Tafshin Beis, when the Redi Kahos was established, the Rebbe already planned ahead. And the Rebbe wrote in a Pesach Dover, he's planning to publish the Hemshech Samach Vov, the Hemshech Ayim Beis, whenever it'll be possible. So think about it a minute. The Rebbe wants to publish the Samach Vov in 1942. Wants to publish the Ayim Beis in 1942. Chach The Rebbe Rashab had reservations about it. The Frierdiker Rebbe didn't do it. The Rebbe was pushing, hoping that this will push it. So Mavrov came out in 1971. Beis came out in 77 in Lamed Zayin. So it was like 35 years later. But the Rebbe already was lining it up. Bichlal, many Maimorim of the Rebbe in the beginning of the Nesias were based on the Rebbe Rashab's Maimorim. Many times the Rebbe said a Maimer, meyused on the Rebbe Rashab, and he would later publish it. And sometimes as Bocharim, talking about the Chofs, the Lameds, we were thinking to ourselves, what is the meaning of that Pesach Dover? The Rebbe writes that we're giving out this Maimer. It was mitas gechazer. The Rebbe writes in his modesty, mitas gechazer the Shabbos before, and al pi bakoshes Rabbim, it was given out to publish. Who's the Rabbim? The Rabbim didn't even know about it. They had no idea Shabbos what the Maimer is based on. But when damals gerät, there is the Rabbeim. The Rabbeim were made to publish it. And that's how we had Kontreisim, Maimorim from the Rebbe Rashab, which the Rebbe Rashab said, and the Rebbe based his Maimer on that Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab. When it came to Tishrei time, in the middle of the 50s, middle of the Yud, there were many Maimorim, especially Tishrei, meyused on Beis, Hemshech Beis. The Beis was not published yet. Even what they had was just partial, was still about Meketz Ayin Gimel, from Shvuas Beis to Meketz Ayin Gimel. And the Rebbe was speaking deep in Yonim, in the Shechem of Tishrei of that year, of those years. Tezvov, Tezayin, Ken Zayin Yud Zayin Echet, unless it's meyused on a different year. But it was happening then. The Frierdiker Rebbe, in the letter that we mentioned earlier, that he writes about the stalkers of his father, so he writes that our hope is that Schus Kodshe, that his holy merit, in the being escorted by the Kedusha of his ancestors, should protect us, and to be able to go in the right way and learn his Torah that he gave us before he left us, and to hope that it will be the day the Rebbe in Tafshin Yud, in the Michtav of Beis Nissan, the Rebbe writes that Beis Nissan has two inyanim in it. It's the Yom Elul of the Rebbe Rashab, and it's the day which the Frierdiker Rebbe became the Nisi Umanik Dereinu, which means basically the Hachtorah of the Frierdiker Rebbe. There was once a chassid, I'm not going to mention the name, a chassid in the 1980s. They were very close with the Rebbe Rashab, and one of the family members was planning to leave to Eretz Yisrael before Beis Nissan. So the Rebbe says, Zicher veter bleiben, he'll surely stay for Beis Nissan, which is the Yom Elul of the Rebbe Rashab, and the Yom Hachtoras b'nei Memalim Mekayim the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe's first Maimer was Reishis Goyim Amolik. He was Shabbos Parshat Tzav. It was the end of the Shiva. The Frierdiker Rebbe called in Rabbi Rifkin, told him to close the door, and he said that Tata hat mir geheißen. My father instructed me to say a Maimer, who am I and what am I, aber nitztavesi, and he then said the Maimer for Reishis Goyim Amolik, which is a Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab, but he added Hagoyes on that Maimer. The next week, the Frierdiker Rebbe calls him in again. This time, in the middle of the Maimer, he opened the door, and the Frierdiker Rebbe continued and said the Maimer, the next Maimer. The Rebbe writes in our order, mentioned on what it says in Medrash, the Medrash Rabbah. The Medrash Rabbah says, Medrash Tilim. In Medrash Tilim it says that b'mokem shechosam Avraham Avinu Pasach Yitzchak, b'mokem shechosam Yitzchak Pasach Yankov. Azay gegangen bis David. Avraham Avinu was vayiten as kol ashalei leYitzchak. So how did Yitzchak begin his bracha? V'yiten l'cho elikim. Yitzchak ended the bracha vayikra Yitzchak liYankov b'nei. came Yankev, Vayikra Yankev, Lebona, Veosfa Vagid Elochem. Yankev finished with V'zeis HaShediber Lem Aviyam. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu, V'zeis HaBrocha. Moshe Rabbeinu finishes Ashrecha Yisrael. Comes David HaMelech, Migrins Ashrei Yoish. And the Rebbe actually continued to the Keilah Neshama once, and if I bring him the Hemshech to this Medrash. The Rebbe Rashab's last Maimer was Reishis Goyim, Barabim. The Mela, the Friedrich Rebbe's first Maimer is also Reishis Goyim. The Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer that he released to learn Barabim and Yud Shvat was Basi Ligani. Comes the Rebbe, Tavshin Yud Aleph, and begins with Basi Ligani. Which actually we're already talking about the union of Beis Nissan, the union of Chav Cheshvan. There is a union nifla that people don't realize. The Rebbe Rashab said in Maimer on the day of his Yom Haledes, Tafresh Pei. How did he finish the Maimer? He said that when it darf sagen Chassidus, na Yom Haledes you have to say Chassidus, and das ist das. Now the Maimer that he said, one of the Maimorim was Smuchim Lad. And it speaks there about the union of Teikef li Smicha, Shchita, Teikef li Nentila Brocha. The first Maimer that the Friedrich Rebbe said by his Yom HaLedes was Tafresh Pei Zayin. That's when the first time, the Geula. Friedrich Rebbe says it took him 7 years. It should be fulfilled. What Maimer did he say? Su Yedechem Kedesh, Teikef L'Netila Brocha, Teikef the same in Mamish. The Rebbe's first Maimer, Yud Aleph Nissan, Tavshin Yud Beis. The Rebbe called in a group of Chassidim, Mamish by name, Sai Bocharim, a selected group of Bocharim and Yungalite. The Maimer begins Hashem Svasai Tiftach, again, Teikef L'Netila Brocha, V'chulu. The same in Mamish, like everyone in the day of his Yom Haledes from the three Nesiim. That's also the Inyan of B'yem, Shachas, and Pasach. The Rebbe writes, B'negiyat Achlotas Teves, that it's a Yom Mesugel to follow the ways of the Rabbeim, and Al Pi Avtochas and Nesiim, it is a keli to receive their brachas. I'll just conclude with a letter that the Friedrich Rebbe asked the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe Rashab wrote a letter which was not so soft and actually asked that the letter should not be copied. Al-Menashe le'yelech b'hatokis. The Pale Mamash was published one time in Migdal Eis, and then it was published in Igros Kodesh of the Rebbe Rashab, Chelik Beis, Tavshin Mem Beis. Friedrich Rebbe asked the Rebbe a question. The Rebbe Rashab, Tafresh Ayin Dalet. The Friedrich Rebbe is 34 years old. It was after the Hemshech Samach Vav. It was after the Hemshech, in the middle of the Hemshech Ayin Beis. And the Friedrich Rebbe asks his father, Mahu Chassidus? A Machidash Chassidus. So the Rebbe Rashab wrote, V'hine me'elam le'shamati u'kimedume shagam le'ro'isi I never heard such a chkira. Because in Yeshayim it says, Inyan Aveda derech Chassidus. And then the Rebbe Rashab continues, especially what I heard from Chassidim, Teiseli, that I never thought about it. I never thought about the background. I learned Chassidus, I looked into Chassidus, I exerted myself to understand the depth of Chassidus. Ubezrasa Yisborech, I found what I needed, what I found. If it's the first time or second time, or I had to exert myself many times, Kifir Ratzon Hashem, but I never thought to myself, Ma ani yesek, ba me ani yesek. What am I doing and what am I involved in? Ani yesek bedach. I'm learning Chassidus. Umali levakach cheshbenas al zeh. What do I have to make cheshbenas? And b'shas I had keches with me, I was able to serve the Eibishter b'tfilah with the Chassidus what I learned. Then the Rebbe Rashab, I'm not going to read the whole letter, it's a long letter. The Rebbe Rashab goes on and says, where does this come from? Where does such a question come from? Very sharp words. And then the Rebbe Rashab speaks about the Mile of Chassidus of Farbrengen. And the Lishenes are, Me reibt op die Beiner, me hachaludas aleya. Me reibt op die Beiner means basically that people are together by Farbrengen. B'meila one involves himself with a second. B'meila they talk together about inyanim of Chassidus, inyanim and Aveda. And b'meila this is a inya miyuchad. In another place it says that the Rebbe Rashab was upset that he never had time. He never spent time in his youth sitting by Chassidische Farbrengens amongst Tziddim. I'll conclude with a part of a Maimer talking about the union of Rambam Chassidus, a Maimer of the Rebbe, Rish Chodesh Tammuz, Tafshin Daled Mem, exactly 10 years before Gimel Tammuz. Shabbos Rish Chodesh. The Rebbe speaks about the union of Hoyam B'De Chodesh B'Chodsei, and right after that the Rebbe concludes towards the conclusion of the Maimer. The Rebbe says like this: the limud that the Rabbeim want is that a person should understand what they're learning. Umagam, that they're referred to as Nisiya Chabad. Nisiya Chabad means they have to intellectually understand what they're learning. And not in a nation of Chuke Chokakti, this is Parsha Chukas. And he also knows, and although he knows there's Taka Chuke Chokakti, V'gam Yedeya, that it was given over through the Rabbeim, Smuchim Ish Mipi Ish Ad Meisha Rabbeinu. And everything they said is true. And when the Rabbeim surely understood the words, B'meila, he knows that he has to be Medayik. But together with that, the Rebbe said it's not enough to be Medayik. But he also has to understand what he's learning. And when he doesn't understand, this is the middle of the Maimer, Chevra. When he doesn't understand, the Rebbe says the Lashon. Darf kommen und klappen von Tier in Mitternacht. He needs to come and knock on the door even in the middle of the night. Because he doesn't understand the Maimer. To explain it. And the Rebbe says this could be the reason. This is the reason why the Rabbeim left it unanswered. In order that he should come and knock on the door. And Bechlal is supposed to be a Yegiya B'avonas Advarim. So this is basically the inyan connected with the Rebbe Rashab, the Rambam of Chassidus, that a person needs to understand, and if he doesn't understand, he has to turn to others, to the Rebbe sagt am Lashon, afilu in mitten Nacht, zu klappen auf dem Tier. And the Rebbe says helfen that we should see all these inyanim, be'enei basa, b'kitze v'ranenu, the Rabbeim, al derech that the Rebbe should lead us, al tzei nagdish, Yerushalayim, Beis Hamikdash, and Kedesh HaKadosh.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Zellickson. All I could say is those that were listening, the silent majority, Yashakayach, everybody that's here, thank you. But the silent majority gets a special shame. Yes, it's the majority and they're silent. That means they're listening. That means they're really absorbing everything that's being said. But Rabbi Zellickson is a symbol of someone that's in this inyan of the Arum for Tzidis, the Divrei Yemei Chasidus, and Yemei Rabbeim, and the Yemei of Chasidim and Chasidus and so on, is a very important Iker. And that's why it's very refreshing to see someone that lives with it. And him, I could say that as he's continuing on, you see that he's Einim Ma'abed Tipa and he's Kemayin HaMizgaber. And this is a limud, and it's a inyan that should be more learned and acquired by other people as well. Thank you very much, Rabbi Zellickson. We have now one second, I need more light. Okay, now. So we have a Jew. We have the privilege to have someone with us that doesn't always have the opportunity to speak for us. So this person, his name is Rabbi Avram Malach. What is his name? And he agreed to speak. He's a Jew that brings joy to thousands and tens of thousands of people all over, to Yidden all over the world. And we ask him to please come up over here and say some words into the microphone.
They say that there was once Odmat Navol Ivrit, פשוט הבדיחה הזאת רק הולכת באנגלית. There was once a person that started being miscarried to Judaism. He was still not a Jew. He kept already Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, but so he joined this very first time a Jewish synagogue. And comes in, it was Friday night, going to start the Shabbos. He asked someone, can I sit next to you? Sure, sit down. Would you mind if I'm going to ask you a whole time the meaning of some things? No problem, ask me whatever you want, I'm going to tell you. Sits down, his very first time in his life. Sees people come together, they gather together, they open the Sidurim, they start davening, they start praying. Then they start a song. You know, in these places, L'chadoidi, they sing. He asks, what's the song? He explains to them, we should now the Sabbath is coming. And we are being mekabel the Sabbath that's coming. All of a sudden, they start a happy song. By Loi Sevoishi, they start a happy song. What is this? What does this mean? Now the Sabbath is really kicking in. It's happening. I'm telling you now. And all of a sudden, he sees the whole crowd turning themselves to Tzad Ma'ariv. What does this mean? The Sabbath is coming from the west, through via north, coming to the east. You understand? Okay? Shabbos in the morning, they start the davening. They finish Shachris, they take out a Sefer Torah. What does this mean? So now we're going to read the Torah portion from, every week there's the portion of the Torah that we read. And there's aliyahs, they call up another person. What does this mean? So now we honor people, they should come do the blessing of the Torah. Wow. All of a sudden there was aliyah with an oifruf. He sees from the gallery, whoa, it starts flying. What does this mean? Well, this guy, he's getting married this week. You should get used to whatever, flying objects from the women's side, whatever, And then they finish reading, and he sees how the rabbi turns his stender to the crowd. He takes out 2 pages. Yes, what does this mean? This means that the rabbi is now going to say his speech. And he sees the rabbi taking off his watch from his hand, putting it on a tissue box in front of him. And he asks him, what does this mean? Tells him, this means absolutely nothing. Nothing. We hope it should mean something. So Rabbi say, I don't want to take your time. And as I've heard him, Farbrengen, from Chassidim, I can tell you one thing. My heart is racing now because I can't believe where I'm standing. If someone will come to my house, you're going to see I have in my dining room a big picture how this little Avramotche Malach, 12 years old, standing here getting kosher bracha from the Rebbe, Mitzvah Pesach. My father used to come here always. He was a very big Oved Hashem. And he had his Lubavitch in him. I could just tell you one thing. Lag ba'omer Tov Shin Mem Zayin. We were standing here outside by the parade. And the parade went on. And suddenly, you feel in the air, the Rebbe is coming out. I remember I was a little child, Tov Shin Mem Zayin, standing next to my father. And my father had a Tillim. He said Tillim the whole time. And suddenly, it became the moment that the Rebbe is coming out. The Oilam remembers that. It was such a silence. And only the music, there was like a violin, I remember, playing Keli Atov Oyedeko. Yeah? I remember something? And the Rebbe came out. Or Animamen, maybe it was Animamen. Animamen it was, that's right. Now I remember seeing my father in tears, standing over there with awe. And I remember my father telling me, Avram Mordche, ich gehe öffnen a Tehillim, Lomer zen, was me sagt in Himmel jetzt auf den Reben. I remember that. Holding his Tehillim and is opening, with wherever. And he puts his finger. and his finger landed on the pasuk Yifrach b'yomov tzadik v'roiv sholem al b'riyareach. There's a story that I remember as a child. I remember Rabbi Butman coming to my father, asking him about the story, which pasuk it was. It was that pasuk Yifrach b'yomov tzadik. Rabbi said, let me tell you one thing. I travel a lot over the world, Shabbatons, doing Shabbatons for people that need chizuk. It's not such an easy world today. You have people have challenges, people with illnesses, people that don't see nachas, the kedusha from their children, and I always say that mashal. And finally, I'm standing here in Chabad headquarters and saying it here. I always say this mashal. I tell them, can you imagine a person Sunday coming to the Rebbe to take $1, and the Rebbe asks him, and he says to the Rebbe, I would like to have another $1 because I'm going to do shlichus. And the Rebbe gives him another $1 for the shlichus, and the Rebbe asks him, what's your plan? Where are you going to do shlichus? He said, I'm opening a Beis Chabad on Kingston Avenue on President Street. Right over there, I'm opening a Beis Chabad, going to put film for people. What would the Rebbe tell him? Michael Tevis, I don't need you to do shlichus in Kingston President Street. Here it's taken care of. I want to hear you doing shlichus in Honolulu somewhere. Honolulu's also not a... Whatever. Over there do the shlichus. And I always say to people, we should know we are all shlichim in this world. We have a shlichus. And we always somehow want to have a shlichus in Kingston President Street. We want everything should be okay and fine. Everything should go smooth. No problems, no challenges, no anything. And Hashem tells us, Moichel Toivis, I don't need you for such a shlichus. I want you for a harder shlichus. Every challenge we have is this. So let me conclude with this gewaldige Wort. The Rebbe Simcha Bunim from Pshischa once said a mashal, and I think that there's not a better, stronger mashal to describe. Speak in Hebrew. En mashal yoter chazak levateh et ma shechabad osim ba'olam kemo המashal הזה. היה פעם בבית סוהר וישבו שם 3 אנשים. 2 אנשים היו נורמליים, ואחד מסכן היה לא כל כך שפוי. פעם ביום, זה היה שם חושך אפלה בזה, פעם ביום היו מכניסים להם אוכל, שמו להם מזלגות, כפיות, סכינים, לאכול, נתנו להם רבע שעה לאכול, ויאללה, אחר כך באו, לקחו להם את הצלחות וזהו. והמסכן, האיש הזה, אבל לא היה כל כך שפוי, לא ידע איך לאכול, לא יודע איך מחזיקים כפית, איפה מכניסים את זה, היה חושך. אז השני אמר לשלישי, בוא נתנדב, אני אתן לו לאכול כל יום, ואתה, כן, אחרי כמה ימים ישעמם לי, אתה תעשה לי את זה. כן, אין בעיה. והוא נתן לו כל יום לאכול, הכניס לו כפית לפה, הכניס לו מזלג. אחרי כמה ימים הוא אומר לשני, תגיד לי, למה אתה כזה סלפיש, למה אתה כזה אנוכי, למה אני צריך לעשות את העבודה כל הזמן ואתה לא עושה את זה? הוא אמר לו, אתה כזה טיפש, יש לנו כל יום 20 דקות שיש לנו מזלגות וכפיות וסכינים בידיים. אתה עסוק לתת לו לאכול כל הזמן. אתה יודע מה אני עושה כל הזמן כשיש לי את הכפיות? אני נוקף חור בקיר שיכנס פה אור. אחרי כמה ימים יהיה פה אור, לא נצטרך לתת לו לאכול. יהיה פה אור, לא יהיה פה חושך, הוא ידע בעצמו מה לעשות. אנחנו בעולם שכל אחד מנסה להסתדר. אבל יש חב"ד. חב"ד עובדים דבר אחד, כל החיים שלהם זה להכניס אור לעולם. אתה בחיים לא תסתדר אם לא יהיה אור בחיים שלך, אור של חסידוס, אור של הרב, להכניס כמה שיותר אור של הגאולה, ואם יהיה אור נסתדר בהכל, בעזרת השם בקרוב ממש נזכה לגאולה שלמה, יחי המלך, ושנהיה כולנו בריאים וחגים ומועדים לסוסרן, תהיו בריאים.
Yasher Koyach, Alav Malach. Mamish via Malach. Reingekommen, no one expected it. What a surprise. just want to say that you can talk and talk about this specialness of this day. It's the day that the Torah tells us, and Rashi brings from the Razal, that Oisei Yoim Notul Eser HaTores. This is the day of Rosh Chodesh Nissan. And that's when the Mishkan, which is the whole Indian of how Moshe Rabbeinu brought down the Shechina Lamata, the seventh Tzaddikim, and Moshe was the seventh. And we're going to have the Geula now, and the Beis HaMikdash now, so it's going to be what the Rebbe told us and promised and gave us our mission, our marching orders, that our job with the Rebbe helping us and showing the way and giving us the keiches to be a part of his mission is to bring down Ike Shechina B'Tachtenim, to Megala Atzmus down here Lamata. So it's interesting. There's a lot of things that we started to talk about, but one thing I just want to point out. First of all, just as an added little treat. If you look at Chitas today, which comes out on today is the day of the Rosh Chodesh Nissan. Don't forget the Rosh Chodesh Nissan, just like the Rebbe explains in Parashat Tetzaveh, that Rosh Chodesh Adar or Zayin Adar, but there's two opinions if it's Zayin or Rosh Chodesh, but the Rebbe talks about the Mazolei Goiver of Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu's Mazolei Goiver takes up the whole month, and that's why that month is Mazolei, is Bari Mazlei, and that's why we have the Mishnichnas Adam Bar B'Simcha, the whole other, everything's about the whole month, because someone like Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rai Mehemna, and he's the Nasi Hadar, and every other Nasi is a Shpashtusa the Moshe B'chol Dara V'Dara, or B'chol Dara, and wouldn't it fit that the Rebbe is taking the whole month? And if the Rebbe is taking the whole month, then of course, the first day of the month of Nisan is when we already feel the Rebbe's Mazolei Gover. If in every month and in every day and in every minute and in many moments we feel the Rebbe's Mazolei Gover, because the Rebbe's are Nasi and Nasi Hu HaKol, especially on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And how much more so when this is a big deal about the Nasi. You say the Nasi, you don't say Tachma because it's a Nasi, and so many things about this Inyan. Just so I noticed randomly that it says 3 times Mashiach in today's Chitas, in today's Chumash, and it says 1 time Nasi in today's Chumash. So you definitely start seeing it coming through from everywhere. I just want to now invite Rabbi Schoenberg Aftzen, and he's no stranger to this microphone, and we're happy that he's here, and he's going to share with us. He's a specialist, just like Rabbi Zelickson is a specialist in his field. Rabbi Aftzen is it overlaps those fields, but he also produces Svarim, and is responsible for many young people and Chassidim in general, education of so many Chassidim and so many of our youth, becoming familiarized with the Rabbeim and with Chassidus and with the history of Chassidim. Rabbi Aftzen, please.
L'chaim, l'chaim, brachat ha'minuchim shachim. When we're speaking about Beis Nissan, the stalkus of the Rebbe Rashab and the beginning of the Nasius of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the question is, what is our matara? Our matara is not that I should give you a synopsis, a summary of Ashkafta the Rebbe, that I should go into the details of the last 2 weeks of the Rebbe Rashab's life, B'al Modain, in this world, but the matara is that we should take something from it. The Rebbe mentioned quite often that the Rebbe Rashab said before his Istalkus, Ich gehe in Himmel und ich sovem lo sich reich. I am going to the heavens, and the Sforim I am leaving for you. My manuscripts. Besides our Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe, all the Rabbeim wrote their own Maimorim. So the Ksovim are his Maimorim that he wrote, and in the Mems, most of them were printed. Samach Vav was printed much earlier, but most of the Maimorim were published in the Mems. The Rebbe, in one Sikha, mentions that L'cha'era, the Rebbe Rashab's choice of words should have been a little bit different. Why did he say, the Ksovim lo zechaich, I'm leaving for you? Why didn't he say the regular Lashon, the regular term that we say every day in Birchas HaShachar, Neisen HaTorah, I'm giving to you. He's giving it to us. And the Rebbe explains that the Rebbe Rashab chose that word, I am not giving it to you in your hand, because Chassidus demands Avodas Atzmai. Chassidus demands that we work on ourselves and we accomplish something. So the Rebbe Rashab said, I'm leaving it. If you're smart, the Rebbe didn't use that word, but if you're smart, you'll pick it up and you'll take it. And you understand what the other side is. But therefore, it's for us to take. So when we're here today, Farbrengen here in the Rebbe's Daled Amos, the question is, what are we taking from the Rebbe Rashab? What are we taking from all of the Rabbeim and implementing it into our lives? So to explain that, I'll try to do it with a story and then another story that explains the first story, and hopefully the point will be crystal clear. The Seder by the Rebbe Nishmas Eidin, the Rebbe Rashab, and by the Frierdiker Rebbe until he came to America, was that the Maimah was said Friday night before Kabbalah Shabbos. After the Rebbe said it, sometime later, I don't know, if it was 5 minutes, 15 minutes, I have no idea, he went to the shul, he went to the Beis HaMedrash, he joined the minyan, meaning he started with the minyan finished, and we know that the Rebbe Nishmas Eidin davened barichas, not only shachris, but every tefillah, and he finished whenever he finished Kabbalah Shabbos. And that's what the Balabatim did. But the Bachrim, especially the Chayzrim and the Mashpia, sat down for Chazorah. And they reviewed the Maimah once, a second time, maybe even a third time, until they had it clear because they had to have it clear. Because Shabbos morning before Shachris, a few Bachrim would enter the Rebbe Rashab's room with the Mashpia, and the Bacher that was the Reish HaChayzer, it was normally for 2 or 3 years until they got married. Rebbe Simpson was a Uisnam. He was a Chayzer from 16 to 26, a meshach of 10 years. But the Reish HaChayzer would chazer the Maimer to the Rebbe Rashab, and sometimes the Rebbe Rashab corrected him. Other times the Rebbe Rashab added biurim, clarified it. He saw that the Bachrim didn't understand it properly. And there were times that the Chayzer or the Mashpia asked the Rebbe Shilas, Wie stimmt das mit das, with this Maimer, with that Maimer? And the Rebbe Rashab would answer it, and then after Chazara, he would go to daven Shachris. Again, how much after Chazara, I don't know. A few times, the Chayzer asked a question that I don't think nowadays anybody would have dared ask that question. And they asked the question, Farbrengen hat der Rebbe gerat. Who did you say the Maimer for? It's above us. I can chazer the words like a tape recorder, but I have no understanding. There was one time the Rebbe Nishmas Eden replied, Ich had das gechazert for Avram David. I think that means Pevsner, who was the Reish HaChayzer for 2 or 3 years. But in the Hemshech of Samach Vav, I don't know which Maimer, and I'm not going to pick one out of the hat. Those that know Samach Vav better than me would know exactly which Maimer I'm talking about. He discussed the difference of a Eved Pashut and an Eved Neman. Normally we say that's the Maimer of Kisikna, but I'm not positive. And the Bacher, the Chayzer, after chazering the Maimer, asked the Rebbe Nishmas Eden, for who did you say this Maimer? Who is going to be an Eved Pashut? Who could be an Eved Neman? Come on, it's above us. And the Rebbe did not argue with the question. He did not say you're mistaken. The Rebbe Rashab's answer was, A behema zet nur der Erd und der Gras, was es unter sein eigen, zet käme nicht der Himmel. An animal, be it a cow, a sheep, a goat, whatever animal you're talking about, all they see is the ground and the food that's on top of the ground that they're going to eat. They never pick up their eyes and see there's a heaven. And that was the whole answer. They ran out of the Rebbe's room and they asked the Mashpia, was hat der Rebbe gemeint? What was the Rebbe answering us? And the Mashpia explained to them that the Rebbe was saying to us, is saying to us, I know the Maimer was above you, but you have to know that as high as you are, as deep as you understand, as much as you think you understand Hasidus, Sfran Hecher and Hecher, there's higher and higher, and you're never going to get to the end. But you should aspire, you should desire to reach that level. To explain it with another story, the Mittler Rebbe sent a pillow to the colonies in Kherson, that's in Ukraine. And the pillow came there and he told the Yidden there that if you learn Hasidus, you'll daven better, you'll become connected to the Eibishter, you'll become a better Jew. And the Yidden in Ukraine had zugeklebt zu a pillow. My father, Olav Hashalom, was born in Ukraine, and the Zekenim, I'm speaking about people that were Ben Shmeinim, Ben Tishim, told my father, we remember a pillow. My father was born almost 50 years after Rapillow's Petira. So you're speaking about the Sikanim, they still remembered Rapillow. So one of the Jungelite in Ukraine had zugeklebt to Rapillow, and for a few weeks he gave up his business, and wherever Rapillow went, he went along with him. After 5-10 years, he comes to Rapillow very frustrated and upset, and he says, Rebbe, what should I say? The Rebbe had zugesagt that if I listen to him, I'll daven better, I'll be connected to the Eibishter. But I feel ich bin derselbe Behemoth. I'm not davening better. I don't feel that a connection to the Eibishter. I'm wasting my time. Pashut, ich bin nicht a Keli. Something's wrong with me. Why don't I feel connected? Why didn't I become better? I didn't change. And Rapillow tells him, my dear Talmud, you are mistaken. You changed, and the change was for the better. The Talmud looks at Rapillow. Rebbe, what are you talking about? Yedeya ish behemtei. I know my behem inside of me. I know my nefesh habahamis. And Rapillow tells him, when you first met me, hast das es nicht geahrt, as du davenst sich nicht. It didn't bother you that you're not davening properly. Yes, artas, yeah, but now it does bother you. Is that not a beautiful change? And this is what the Rebbe Rashab is telling us. We might not be able to accomplish everything, to understand everything. However, we have to aspire. We know how far we reached, how wonderful we are. We have where to go further. We have what to accomplish even more. We might not accomplish everything. We might not. We definitely are not going. Because as high as you go, there's always higher to go. But, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, a Beinani shouldn't baklog sich that he's not a tzaddik. Because his neshama, the mission of his neshama was to strive to become better and constantly battle. And this itself is our mission, and we're succeeding in our mission. And now that we are standing, Beis Nissan, the status of the Rebbe Rashab, the beginning of Nesius, of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Frierdiker Rebbe is the one that was Megala Matan Torah Dole Mata in America. Chatzi Kader Atachton. And the Rebbe, it's 10 days before Yud Aleph Nissan. We have to understand as much as we accomplished. And we accomplished tremendous. However, we're only looking at the accomplishments. Summa Menechem, look how much more we have to accomplish. There's so much more that the Rebbe is begging us. He's pleading with us. Endigt mein Arbeit, zu putzen der Kneplach, finish the work, bring Mashiach, bring his galus of the Eibishter, Dole Mata las Masar Tfachim. And this is what we say when we commemorate and we come together at the Farbrengen of Beis Nissan. It's not just to hear a nice story, for the mashpiyah to chazer over a mimer, a concept of the mimer of the Rebbe, based on a mimer of the Rebbe Rashab, v'chulu v'chulu. It's the Indian is that we should decide to become connected to the Rebbe and to all the Rabbeim, and we should fulfill their mission that they gave us. And then when we do ours, like the Rebbe said, the Rebbe Rashab said, Ich los das Fadir, and that was the Lashon that the Rebbe used on Chav Zayin Chav Ches Nissan. He's telling us, Ich los das Fadir, but don't drop it, pick it up, understand how important it is, how vital it is. And if we pick it up, then B'nei Chasham and Apsachim and Azvachim will be able to be makriv the Korban Pesach with Beis HaShlishi this year, Mamish, L'chaim L'chaim.
There's a koyach Rabbi Aftzon, obviously Dvarim HaYitzim in Alev, and that's why it's Nechnasim Alev Perlim Pulason, and you should continue your good work. And we're going to ask now for a nigun, and we'll continue to Farbrengen. Shkayach very much for the accompaniment, for the menagin, and his big schus in the simcha and the seiridas by the Farbrengen. Shkayach. We see the Rav is here now, so not to take too much time, just want to complete a point that was made earlier. And there's so much, when you start looking at Chodesh Nissan, you start seeing so much that's there, more and more, as you uncover, there's layers and layers. And all these things is what we know from the Rebbe. So one of the inyanim about Nissan being a month that has to do with Nasi. What is the inyan of Nissan being a Nasi? Because that's when we say the Nasi, the Nasiim that brought the Karbonis, and so on. In this famous Sikha that I was mentioning before, in Chelik Lamed Beis, in Kutas Sikhas, that the Rebbe said, and the Kesher to Chodesh Nissan, the name of the unusual name, that the title of the Sikha is Nissan, just Nissan. And Nissan is enough to know, because Nissan is Nissan is the month of the Geula, Nissan is the month of the Rebbe Malach HaMashiach Shlita, and Nissan is the inyan of Nitzchias HaNasi, which the Rebbe brings out. But the Rebbe also emphasizes and tells us all about how much the month of Nissan emphasizes in everything that you look at the hiskalelus of Klal Yisrael, and how it's a month that has in it a connection between every Yid, and be'ikr a connection to the Nasiim in general, and to every Nasi in his generation. And obviously, if the Rebbe is telling us all this, obviously, it's the Rebbe who's pasuk alatzmai even in a stronger way, because we know all these inyanim about the Nasi that the Rebbe is mechadish over here, so to say, from the Rebbe himself. And the Befrat that the Rebbe is our Nasi, and the Befrat that the Rebbe is Geil Sheni, Geil Achrein, and is Geil Rishon, because Geil Achrein and Geil Rishon are the same. The first Nasi and the final Nasi of Geulus, and the first Nasi of Geula. But the Rebbe points out that you start looking a little deeper. You have the Tzemach Tzedek, his birthday. I'm going in order of the first Rebbe, even though the Rebbe says it in a different order. The Rebbe doesn't talk about the Tzemach Tzedek here. The Rebbe talks about the Friedrich Rebbe and the Rebbe Rashab. So I started from the Friedrich Rebbe. So you have the Rebbe, the Rebbe's Yom Haledes, Mazal Gever, which we spoke about before. That's the whole month, just like Moshe. And you have the Friedrich Rebbe, became Rebbe today. The Rebbe Rashab, the Rebbe's his Histalkos, his Ilula. And then you have, I said the Tzemach Tzedek, which is Yud Gimel, Histalkos of the Tzemach Tzedek. And then you have, of course, like I said, the Rebbe. But you also have, if I'm missing anything, I'm going to all the Nasiim, because the Rebbe's emphasis here is that all the Nasiim are Nitzchi, and all the Nasiim are representing Klal Yisrael, and that's why we say the Yiratzin, even though those that know for sure that they come from Shevet Levi, like a Kohen and a Levi, or anyone who knows for sure that he comes from a certain Chedesh, Shevet, because there's a hiskalus going on over here. Because every day you don't say Tachnun, even though it's a Nasi, but all the Yidden don't say Tachnun, it's a Nasi of a certain Shevet, and the Nasi of the certain Shevet is Kailal, is all Shevet in him, but all the Nasiim are Nitzchi, and all the Yidden are connected to all the Nasiim, because it's all Nitzchi. So that's why on every day of every Nasi, and that's why we don't say Tachnun the whole month, because of the fact that for these days of the Nasi, it makes it that with Pesach and everything, it's most of the Chedesh. But you could hafachba the kuleba, and the ikir is that the Rebbe says that because of the Nitzchias, that's why we are so connected to this inyan, and we commemorate this Zeicher LeMikdash, which it says in Shulchan Aruch, but it's not Zeichel and Mikdash because like a memory, a commemoration. It's Zeichel and Mikdash because of how much it's applying now. So the Rebbe Shmin Izgal take it on Mamish and take us out of this last final, I don't know what you want to call it. The Rebbe calls it a holding station. It's an after bidder and the tzutzis. On the other hand, we don't see the Beis Hamikdash. We don't see the shleimus HaKibbutz Golis, the shleimus of its Galus Melech HaMashiach. So this is the time now, Chodesh Nisan, the Rebbe's month, as it'll be continued to explain by other people. We thank the Rav for being held back, but this is his month. Every day is his day and every day is his month, but this month is the hardest month, and he's here as usual to share with us Divrei Teira and Divrei Yisayridus, and the ikid is Divrei Geula, Harav Rabbi Yishaya Brain, and please, the Chabad Bez and Tzedek of the Shchunah, Kanshi V'Sem Zabracha, and Mord Asra, and as long as you want, Rabbi.
Der Rebbe de Manta Sachmol, die Gemorre in Brachis, darf nun sein, der Rebbe ist madgisch, dass darf nun sein, Resh Omed Aleph. Etliche Mal in die Zettelech, was der Rebbe geschrieben hat, madgisch gewinnt der Wort nun sein, Resh Omed Aleph. Hat die Gemorre sagt, aber schaß mir sehr, Nissan in Acholim, Stab hat mir gelernt, man morgen Chassidus wegen Nissan Batag. Bishas man sagt, Nissen ist Nissim Nasuloi. Also wie das Wort Nissen hat in sich zwei Nunim. In das Asim in der Nishtam, aber wird sein Nissim, nur Nissim Aflo, Lamaila Aflo. Aber der Pfarrer mit das Madisch, dass darf nun sein, was heißt sich echt mit der Nun. Und das ist Resh, mit Alef, Ihnen von Ascholo, Nes, Vechulum. Mir gefindet sich in der Chedesh, was a Chedesh von Nissim. Und beloschen Ashallah, ha Chedesh azel lechem reish chadosh, ma der ganze Chedesh ist a Chedesh. Und wie auch gepasst, in Shulchan Aruch hat neugem, lass es oise kein Yomtev, weil jeden Tag ist a Yomtev in Chedesh Nissen. Sie nicht nur, aber schaßen Davenen darf man nicht suchen, kann Chos mit Abris. Und man kennt Davenen ein paar Minuten kürzer, nur das, was wir sagen, nicht kontakten, heißt es, Meile werden nimmst du rein von Yomtev. Und negen, was heißt, als Agama, man darf suchen Terussim, was tut sich in Yom Gimel, und was tut sich nach Pesach, aber man kann schon machen Yomtev, negen, lass es, sei cool Yomtev. Wie wir der Rebbe gebeten in Toschenkopf Dahl, dass jeden Tag in Nissen soll man verbringen. Ich weiß schon, was die Balabostes haben getragen davon, als es kein Yomtev, weiß man darf verbringen. Es ist ein aufgehebener Chedesh. Es ist ein Chedesh, was in dem Amora Chedesh steht, dass jeden Tag da ein Gili von Atzmas am Hussein Seif Baruchu in Eter Vechulu. Und wie man sagt, bei Emanuele, sagt man Gräse Gor, Gräse Nissim Gluyim und Eflois, was das Bebeginne Sareya Nissim Bachalem. Weil Heinz sagt man nicht Nissim in Acholem, man sagt Nissim Behokitz. Nur es kann sein, am Metzies, was Ayinu Kechelmim, das ist verkehrt. Die Nissim seine Behokitz. Aber mir sein, bei Efer Schalcholem, kann einmal sein, man hat sich, dass da solche Gräse Nissim, was Leishorem Avesenu, was bei Yom im Ovru, wo man getanzt in die Gassen und gekullet, wegen der solche Nissim. Nissim, was Einlem, Schum, Achise, Vavane, bei Metzies, als mit der Jahr früh, wo man käme nicht gecholem, es wohl gewinnen solche Sachen. Was kemuven, die alle Anhoges von Teheish Nas, Nissim in der Rennen Flois, und der Flois war Keul und Gdelis, Vechulu und Gulis. I das nicht nur rechnet Bepeil in Elam Hase, nur rechnet der Elam Kotten Zeh Odom, für da der Michtiv Kloli Hayadu, was der Rebbe geteilt mit der Gelle Convert, der Gelle Envelope. Was der Rebbe geteilt Lekach mit der Maime, mit der Michtiv Kloli, wo auf Tishrei, wo dort der Rebbe Masbir, aber Schaß ist Schnaß Nissim, meint es, dass bei Avedes Odom darf sein an Nissentige Anoge. Als das, was bis seid, habe ich getragen, dass es, ich kann das nicht tun. Das macht sich an Ness. So da, was ich kennt, dann bei Derech HaTeve. Und in Derech HaTeve, da, ke de Boile im Eved. Danach da Sache, was im ganzen Beginn Ness oder Beis soll Nissim. Han hoge Nissis meint, das alle Mal, das da war guckt dann von dem verstehen was meint. Han hoge Nissis. Als es Beis soll Ness, ich meine es Mofsim. Bald anfangen praven Mofsim da. Man meint, man soll praven Nissim messen an Avedes Adam. Als eben mir steht doch in Jemea Achone zu Judalef Nissen. Es da karge 9 Tag. Wer der größte Tag bei ihm Ashta Yossi Yem Nosil Bnei Yosher Vehu Yitin Madani Melech. Und das ist der Tag, was Nismala Habayis und Kolo Oilam Kula Yeda. Und mir steht Sachakel gezählte Tag vor dem Tag. Ist eine von den Timen, von der es war, dass es gemoven auf Meire sein, auf Achlotes Tevis, aber können sich zugreden zum Reben Simaledes. Und mit der Rebbe hat einmal gerät, als es kann sein, als Zwara, man will geben Matones für seine Simaledes, hat gebeten, dass die Matones soll man geben mit Achlotes Tevis. Und als sie kann sein, Kolmina Achlotes, soll man darf mit Kasher sein, die Achlotes Tevis mit der Initial Teure. Is Biomenu Ele Mamish wird jetzt Shmeinim Shona von wenn der Rebbe Haggadah hat sich gedruckt, wo das ist ein Gili Yeir Chodosh. Haggadah shel Pesach wird nicht schlimm Shmeinim Shona Biomenu Ele Mamish Bechedesh Nissen Tavshin Vav bis Tavshin Pei Vav. So da ist sicher, wird der Friedige Rebbe gesagt, als will warten und sehen, wie sie Mashiach wird Eisteitschen der Haggadah. Das hat der Rebbe geredet, 80 in Sadik Tess. Hat gedauert 7 Jahre und Mashiach hat Eisteitschen der Haggadah. Wir haben Terrasse schon Mashiach mit Amuchen, wie der Rebbe sagt, in Vayetzen und Beis, dass da Terrasse schon Mashiach mit Amuchen. Und so da dem Rebbe Haggadah, der originelle Lekute Taime mit Hagim. Danach ist nicht Teisfu auf dem Biurim. Ein Chelik mit der zweite Chelik, der Rebbe zugegeben, Kamek Toim in Chav Gimel, in Schnasakan. Und danach zukommen aber das Sache, Ribi Biurim mit Sichres, ein Band, 2 Bänder mit Eisofis, Vachulu. Leg zu dem allem, ich glaube, mit Klom, es soll echt gedruckt in der Haggadah. Ich da a Gewalt von dem Rebens Pesach, die Gejomtev, Judalf, Nissen die Gejomtev, wie man das kennt, das Feiern auf dem Rebens Seifen. Ich weiß, es kann sein, dass es am Mai im Scheinle im Sof lernen im Rebens Haggadah, immer hat an Hage Nissis, kann man ablernen die ganze Haggadah. Aber eben will sich einachschen in Gidri Ateva, es Lav Davkes ist Scheich, als von Beis Nissen, Peivav, bis Jud Alf Nissen, Peivav, soll man endig in die ganze Haggadah mit allen Bejurim. Aber nicht kann Teres, aber man soll nicht anheben, mit der Achlota und Asla Hamschich. So das sicher ist, was der Rebbe gedruckt, gegeben drucken, wo der Rebbe Magig werden nur für die Haggadah. Weil er sicher und belekute sicher ist. So erst Mamisch, bis schon am Achreines Mamisch, ist zugekommen nach Chelik Mem, hat man genommen von die paar sicher, was gewähren Muge nur in der Haggadah shel Pesach. Weil er nicht gerade mit keinem belekute sicher, dass es sicher ist, dass der Rebbe Magig werden speziell für die Haggadah. Und vielleicht einmal schreiben auf dem Nitvis bei Haggadah shel Pesach in Biurim und legt die Tfussen und gedacht, beiten die Page Numbers. Ist das sicher von Haggadah? Is al kaponem, dass Haggadah kann dich lernen ein ganzes Jahr, leman Tisker, es jem, Zeichem, Eretz, Mitzrayim, Kol Yemei Chayecha, eine von den Erfahrungen von Mekayim sein, Kol Yemei Chayecha, es passt lernen dem Rebens Haggadah jeden Tag. A ganz, man sagt, Charib Hillel hat es einmal genommen, als gewinnt Sforim, und die Sforim liegen dich, und da, ich weiß nicht, was tut da in 7-7 wegen dem. Aber als ist Sforim mit Brecklich gehen nicht zusammen. So etliche Time, was steht, man soll nicht halten kann, Sefer beschaß man erst. Ein Time ist, als kann sein Teiloim in der Sefer, danach kann ich reinfallen in der Essen, ich torbe dich nicht. Danach ist der zweite Time, als kann reingehen von der Essen in dem Sefer. Hat Rebbe gesagt auf dem, als nimmt das allemal weg, weil will Mekayim sein, lemal Tisker, Kol Yemei Chayecha, jeden Tag ist Mekayim, jetzt ist Mitzrayim, gedenkt, als da Pesach. Is einmal lernt dem Rebens Haggadah, viele mit das Messiah, Fahr Judal auf Nissen, oder Fahr Chag Pesach, oder Fahr Achim Shal Pesach, oder Fahr Beizir, Chav Ches Nissen, Beizir, Vachulu, is kem das lernen mit Meshach Kol HaShon, das ist ein Gewalt der Eizerbollen, und mit dem wird man mit Kasher sein, im Kol Yemei Chayecha, mit Lahavi Lemeisa Mashiach, But the Rebbe is Masbin Shmeis nun Beis aber Emerson is Kol Yemei Chayechem Yemei Mashiach ein Sach. Und der Tafkid von der Nossi, der Blase ben Azaria, Reinike, wenn 7 schon ist, Megale sein, als dein Chayech ist besser Yemei Mashiach. Was unser Nossi in unser Dor, hat das Megale, wenn Begilu ja mezet nicht kein Schum Chilik zwischen Yemei Chayechem Yemei Mashiach. Heinu Hach Mamish. Nur wenn dann als Emi gefindt sich in Cheshach Chagolos ist Maskiden, Yitzis Mitzrayim, Balelois, ist amol, kann man meinen, dass da Psaini shal Chilik benehmen, darf man Mamschach sein, die Yemei Mashiach in Yemei Chayech, bis das wird bepeil Mamish Begilui. Und bepis Gomoi, von die Bale Elul Kedem ist Al-Kusay, als geht in den Himmel, und die Xaven los ich heich, ist sagt der Rebbe, man kann haben, wie ist im Himmel, Allah lies was da beim Reben. I das da in die Xaven, in die Teire, was der Rebbe uns gegeben, was der erste Chibur, von die erste Chibur im Al-Kalpanim, das da von dem Reben, was da sein Nigel, sein Nistre, bewaß Achas, benäßt es da Yom Yom. I da aber Chibur, was Nigel, wenn Nistre keecha, dem Rebens Haggadah, I das als Mann, als Shas HaKeshef, meide sein, der mit Kitzim soll reintanzen, die Gule, Schleime, Yemei Mashiach mit dem Rebens Haggadah, mit dem Korben Pesach zusammen mit dem Reben, wenn Nechel Shom und Azwachim und Absachim und Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi und feiern Yudalef Nissen, Berev, Peir Vahoder, Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, Al-Gag Beis Hamikdash in der Azara, ich weiß nicht, ein Yeshiva bei Azara, El Malche Beis David, wie sie können verbringen in der Azara, better gefalpel über sie, kann sein, dass es zödig gewählt, sie können verbringen, erst in Ezras Noshim, in Chotzer, Akaponim, sie doch genug Platz dort zu verbringen, als Sturmdige verbringen mit den Reben bei der Shenu, wir teken vom Yad Mamish.
Shekaya Charav Bloin, them is big Hakaras, Hatev, that he's here and he shares with us all his thoughts, and not all of them, but a lot of them, and he should continue to come. We like him and we need him. And he should have atzlacha and yarech yomim hamamlachta v'chulu v'chulu. Just this, whatever I said before, that's only introduction to the main nekuda of the Nitzchis HaNasi. And I said by the Rebbe because he's our Nasi, so it's more to us. But really, when you look at what's going on with this inyan of the Nasi, the Nitzchis HaNasi, what do you see? You see the Sikha that the Rebbe talks about the Nitzchis HaNasi, and in the Sikha the Rebbe talks about the Nitzchius of his possessions, and the Nasi's possessions, they are connected to the Nasi, and they were serving the Nasi in his Avodas Hashem as a Nasi, and so the Kedush, the Chafetzim, the articles of the Rebbe, of the Nasi, is part of the Nasi, and Kedusha ein Zazim Kema. Even when the Nasi, like in the case of the Rebbe Rashab, he says, Ich gein Himmel, but down here, whatever we have, what we see, the Rebbe says in general, besides the Nasi himself is Nitzchi, but in general, these things are Nitzchi, and they belong to the Nasi, they're part of the Nasi, and they maintain their Kedusha eternally. So if we take a look at what the Sikha is all about, the Sikha was said in connection with the Didan Notzach of the Svarim, and that was a big milchama about the Nitzchis HaNasi and the Nitzchis of the Nasi's possessions and his the Nasi's Svarim, the Gashmis the Svarim that have his Torah in it, and Nafshi Ksavis Yehovis, Tzadikim Dem Lebeiram, as the Rebbe explains. But the whole inyan, the whole milchama of the inyan of the Svarim is a mamish, a milchama, and a big kitrug, l'mayla, to challenge the nitzchias of the Nasi. And when does it matter more than now? And for who did the Rebbe fight for this to be established and ruled in a Goyish court, which is then even Weltpaskens. So it's something that's, it goes all the way through and through. The whole Seder Ishtalshalus, that the Rebbe is Nitzchi, the Rebbe is here. Everything the Rebbe has and everything about the Rebbe is Nitzchi Mamish, and that's why we are constantly drawing and connecting and becoming charged and infused with the Rebbe's keiches to be able to give us in these moments when we have a difficult time seeing the Rebbe Begashmias and hearing the Rebbe Begashmias, but the Rebbe locked it in. And if the Nasi is Nitzchi, then we're also Nitzchi, not the other way around. The Nasi is Nitzchi, that's why we are Nitzchi. And this Hey Tevis, which is the Sicha of Nissan, Tavshim Em Zayin, and the Sicha is called Nissan, is all about the Nitzchis Hanasi for this reason. Because now it's more than ever. Now is when the Rebbe was able to bring it down that it should be ruled on by the Goyish courts, Kavachaymer, how much it's Mitzad Yidin. Nigga, yeah? Shamil. Yosel, whatever you want. You say, we do. Hirani Chochem Echad, just want to fill something in that I missed out. We can't forget that the Rambam is also in Chedesh Nissen, and the Rambam is part of the whole business. Chaim. Shkoyach, everybody, for being patient and accepting the English language. Thank you very much. And again, I want to give a todah to Rabbi Yossel Kratz, Yarech Yom HaMamlachte, K'may She'omrim Tomid Alav, V'yiten li Mechir Tov ala Sitz l'Tishrei. אני לא חולם, אל תדאגו. אני רוצה להזכיר משהו בעצם הרב הוא היחידי, הרב ברוין, זין גזונט, הוא היחידי שהזכיר את הניסים שקורים היום. אני חושב שרק כמה מילים, חבל שלא מדברים יותר על זה, אבל באמת כל אחד יודע וכל אחד חי עם זה, שכלל ישראל וכל העולם בעצם ובאמת רואים שמשהו קורה כאן. אפילו אלה שלא מבינים כל כך ולא מאמינים כל כך, אבל הם רואים עם העיניים, כמו שהרוב הסביר שהיום יודעים את זה כי זה בא בראי הגשמיס, וצריכים להבין ולחפש מאיפה זה בא בתורה ובפרט מהרב מלך המשיח, הנביא שבדורנו. אבל אני רוצה רק להצביע על נקודה אחת. יש הרבה דברים. הרב בעצם היחידות של חבוב ניסן, הרב זה משהו שיצא בתור שיחה בספר הסיכס, ושם הרב פשוט מלמד אותנו איך להסתכל על הגאולה שקורה לפני העיניים ולהצביע על כל דבר, לראות איך זה. הכלל שהרב נתן לנו, הכלל הכללי שהרב נתן לנו, זה מבוסס על הפסוק במיכה, כמי צאצכם ארץ מצרים אראנו לפלויס, אבל ממילא, אף על פי שיהיה הרבה יותר גדול והרבה יותר חזק, הנפלויס, בערך לניסים של מצרים, אבל הרב אומר לנו, מה שכתוב, כמי צאצכם, כי זה יהיה דומה. גאולה אמיתית, גאולה שקורה עכשיו, זה מעין, זה כמו, אבל הרבה יותר חזק. אחד מהדברים שלא שמים לב אולי, חוץ ממני, אחד הדברים של יציאת מצרים היה שהקדוש ברוך הוא, הוא כיבד את הלב של... הכביד, that's right, הכביד את הלב של פרעה. אחד מהניסים הכי גדולים שמבינים ממה שמסתכלים, שלא יכול להיות בדרך הטבע, נס כזה בדרך הטבע, שיוכלו פשוט לגרש, להעביר מן הארץ את רוח הטומאה, אם לא הם, עם השטויות שלהם, שהם, הקדוש ברוך הוא גרם להם לחשוב לא להרים ידיים, לא להפסיק. פשוט זה כזה משוגז. הם משתגעים לדבר ממש של אין שכל בזה. הם מפסידים כל מה שיש להם, אבל הם לא עוצרים. זה ממש נס. לא קיים כזה, לא היה קיים כזה דבר. מאז בבריאת העולם, שצד אחד יראה שלא יישאר ממנו כלום, אבל משהו דוחף אותו לא להפסיק, כי בלי זה לא היינו יכולים לעשות מה שעושים, מה שארץ הקודש, הצבא של ישראל ואמריקה עוזר, ועוד אחרים הם הולכים עכשיו לעזור, כי הם מתחילים עמהם. הם דוחפים, הם דוחים את אלו שהם כאילו מהצד שלהם. מה שהם עושים זה ממש הקדוש ברוך הוא פועל דרכם. וזה נס מאוד מאוד גדול. כי כל הזמנים, כל המלחמות וכל מה שלחמנו בארץ הקודש נגד האויבים, תמיד לא נתנו לנו להמשיך. הרב אומר שכן היו יכולים, הרב רצה שימשיכו, אבל בדרך הטבע היה לחץ כזה שדאבוננו הם לא עמדו. אבל עכשיו אין שום ספק, כל העולם עכשיו רואה ברור שהרע הזה, הקליפה הזה, חייבים פשוט להשמיד אותו. בשבילוסי זה לא תקנוסי, להעביר ביור חומץ. חייד עינינו מרנו ורבנו מלך המשיח לנבוא.
חיים לחיים, ספס עמיחי בן מזל מסודה, הצלח בכל חיים. Rabbi Samuel Menschen. Ich bin einfach dort lang. Wir haben weich schachal weich lein schachal שלו בוכליים schachal שלו תבוכין ובתלם חלם זדלם כלום גם כזה חמים so genau mal das kommt über kam auf der die haben sie kommen zum Tag nein sind da kommen weil nein alle Haare sind alle mal sommer hoeven in Jerusalem kunnen ze menen wordt daar nee boyne beragen maar Jerusalem meen wordt dan in een gelam ja dat weet ik zing Lang jagen we met boom Milan dan wel eens Bo gaat aan naar alleen nog aan beuren per af en das Bobbes. חיים, מסיים רק דבר אחד, הרב כהנא ושכח חזר פה בעריכס על שיחה מחלק למד בייס, שיחה על ניסן. בכלל הסדר בלוקטסיכס שהכניסו לרב שיחה והרב הגיע את מה שהכניסו לו. יש מספר מועט ביותר, פחות מ10 שיחות בלוקטסיכס, כנראה 6, 7, שהרב ביקש מה ירפיסו בליקוט. ואחד מהשיחות זה השיחה של ניסן חלק למד בייס, ששם מבואר המעלה של 770. חיים וברוכה. חיים מסך. ניסן חלק למד בייס. למד בייס.
Does it work? Does it work? Does it work? Appa, does it work? It does. It does.
nachhören. darf machen a Bracha Achreina, sicher machen a Bracha Achreina.